All right, we are live.
Since we are live on?
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome everyone to all the listeners. We are once again back with a topic that really will trigger to all our emotional well-being, that podcast series that we started a few weeks ago now. And we are into, actually, we completed our 12 episodes, but today we are doing amazing topic, which absolutely we tend to think that we live two lives. As we always say, there are two sides to the coin. And today, what a topic that we have chosen today. And we have got a beautiful and lovely guest today who is going to uncover a lot of things for us. But before we jump into that, this is a emotional well-being podcast series. We are one, freedom of free spirited. So our intentions and our mission is all to uncover the free spirit that we all have. And how we can do that is with this double side or two sides to the coin. We are going to uncover this today. And before further, just wanted to give a little bit of, I would say, to all the listeners who are listening, please feel free to give us your feedback and your questions if you have any, because today the speaker that we have got is absolutely a speaker of multi-language, multi-talent. She likes to learn. She's curious about lots of things, but she has achieved a lot, and I'm not going to do all of that. It's all going to be done very soon. So I'm going to just see that two personalities or dual personalities or whatever we call it, but there are always two sides to the coin. And what we are going to uncover today is some of the beautiful ingredients of this topic, which is fear versus love, control versus surrender, attachment versus detachment. So without further ado, we are going to get straight into the show, and with our lovely host, Bec, who is going to take us to this journey with our lovely speaker. So over to you, Bec, for this beautiful topic that we are going to uncover.
Thanks, Shailesh. I'd just like to thank Andreea for being with us today as we unwrap this topic. So for our listeners, Andreea is a certified coach, speaker and trainer with John Maxwell, a soulful coach, and on her way to being a certified NLP coach. In 2019, she launched her coaching business with a mission for transformation, leading her clients through profound transition moving from scarcity, brain fatigue, into the connection with their higher self, allowing unique legacy to be created by design. She loves to travel and connect with people of different cultures with the interest of discovering the meaning of life, and is passionate about love and vibes. So very warm welcome to you today.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and talk about some really profound, deep subjects here. So you guys are in for a treat.
Cannot wait. So let's get right into it. So duality, what does duality mean to you?
Yeah, so when I think about duality, is as Shailesh mentioned at the beginning, is that there are two sides of a coin, two sides in everything we do, in the truth that we see, in the perspectives that we see, in a situation, in a problem, in how we deal with life. There are at least two sides. That's what I want to say, at least two. But to keep it simple for our audience, I said that duality, like at least seeing two parts of it, it's the fastest and easiest way to start with.
So can we say that it is also like the realities of our journey? We have got dark and we have got light. So people always talk that let's look at the light of the tunnel. There is always a light at the tunnel, end of the tunnel. When they say that phrase, as it like means that, okay, there is a dark, so there is other side of the coin is dark, and the other side is the coin of is light. Is that fair to say that kind of thing as well?
Yes, and one of the things I have learned along the way, it's really get away from labels. getting away from labels of, for example, good or bad. I don't really use those terms anymore. And when I do, I
Yes.
really catch myself because labeling something as being hard, as being bad, as being dark, as being whatever it is, we make it that way. We give it a meaning that that's how it is. And then that's when our suffering starts.
Right. Beautiful. You're stuck with one thing.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and then that's all we can see. And as if some of you have studied how our brain works, you know that we have been conditioned by society and so on to perceive and focus on what's not working in our life, on what's not good. So that's like our instinct also as a humans, that automatically we're gonna focus on what's not working. So we have to retrain, rewire our brain to focus on what is it that it's working in our life. And that's how we start creating those shifts.
So then going with the duality of fear and love, like I don't want to look at it as fear versus love. Like the way that I think it's hand in hand. So we're not comparing it. We need both sides to be equal.
Yes, and we need both sides also to know when you are in love, no? So, or when you are in fear, to be able to make that distinction. Because if neither one of those things would exist, then how would you know in which state of being you are now? But what I want to touch on this is really that they cannot coexist together at the same time. So in a matter of moment, it's like, am I in fear or in love right now? Because you cannot coexist in both of them in the present moment. Mm-hmm. So this is where when you are in a moment where you feel fearful, where you are worried is also part of fear, where you are worried, but it's about the future, then you can ask yourself, okay, I'm choosing right now to live in fear. How can I choose love?
Yeah.
So basically, it's also called, like, first you have to accept, or first you have to understand whether are you in which mode, fear mode or love mode. Is that what it is?
Yes. Understanding which one. So that comes to the awareness, like being aware of, like, how am I feeling right now? What am I thinking about? And then once you're going to start uncovering those things, you're going to realize that, okay, I was choosing to live in the fear of worry. For example, that was what I chose at the beginning of the journey last year when my partner got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I realized that I was living so much in fear about the future. I was so worried about what is going to happen that I was already suffering in the present moment about something that hasn't manifested in the reality yet. But I was choosing to worry, to be in fear. And once I realized that that's what I was doing, then I told myself I cannot just live in the future constantly. So the way I chose from that moment was to really bring myself into the present moment and tell myself I am here right now. Like, that's a mantra I've used a lot. I am here right now. So I remind myself to deal with what's going on into the present moment instead of worrying about some I don't know, some fantasies, some things in the future that we cannot predict, because we don't know what is going to happen. And where we go to the control versus surrender, I was trying so much to control the future by dealing with my partner, what treatments he's going to do, by what medicine, where we are going, what we are doing, like controlling him. I was trying to control the future. And once I understood that I have no control over that, I chose to surrender to the present moment and to live in the now.
Yeah, I think that's very important, living in the now. And as you said, otherwise, and plus accepting that, understanding yourself, that which mode are you into, as you always say, that we always try to achieve something, but not looking at the other thing. What if we don't achieve? Then what is the other side of it? Cool.
Yeah, I think it comes down to awareness of where you actually are in the moment. You know, like with duality, like you see, like we've got the ideal of fear or love, but if you're not actually aware of where you are right now in this point of time, you're not going to be able to get to the other side. You're not going to be able to remove yourself from the fear to go into love if you're not aware that you're in the fear.
Yes, and I know many of you right now might say that, Andreea, but it's so hard to do that, especially when you go through like really hard moment. And I think every person on this planet has been through challenging times. It's just part of being a human. It's part of our evolution of our soul. That's how we grow the most, by going through hard moments. That's how we discover parts of ourselves that we didn't even know they exist. So you might be like, but how do I choose love? How do I choose to live in the present moment when I'm so worried, I'm so terrified about this, whatever situation you might go through right now? And it's really getting back to knowing the power that you have, like acknowledging and knowing that you are like immensely powerful. And when you understand that, and when you understand that you get to choose, then everything shifts, because then you are not a victim anymore of what's happening outside of you, of what's happening in your circumstances, because that's how most of the people live their life. They are a victim, and they blame their parents, they blame the society, they blame their teacher, they blame like everyone else outside of them. And when we are blaming, we are giving our power away. So when you stop blaming and start acknowledging, taking responsibility for your own life, understanding your power, that you're beyond powerful, that's when you can start creating magic in your life, no matter what's going on outside of you.
Yeah. I've got everything you're saying. It's like, I'm resonating with so much, and it's taking me back to, specific times during my journey, and I'm just like able to resonate with what you're saying. There was definitely times that I led from a place of fear, in the fact of, not knowing what was tomorrow or in a week time, and not being able to release the control. But I know these are two different moments, but for me, removing myself from the place of fear to lead from a place of love, there may, like for me, there was probably still a bit of control. I definitely didn't surrender into the situation, but I led from a place of love, which removed me from the fear and anxiety of not knowing what was going to happen. I'm personally, I like to be in control. I like to, know why I'm doing something and have the outcome, I can see the outcome before I get there. So letting go of control and surrendering into the moment is really hard for me. But for me to lead from a place of love from my heart, I'm able to step out of the fear victim mentality, and to shift all thoughts and energy to direct me, I guess. Yeah. So
and I'm very similar with that, with controlling. I have been controlling a lot of things in my life. And once I got into this situation, I understood and I accepted that there is actually so little that it's in our control, that it's outside of us.
Yeah.
So then I started focusing, if you want to be in control, then start focusing, what is it that it's in my control? Because we suffer when we have this expectation about an outcome, for example, that, and then if it's not happening, we are so disappointed and we suffer. But then even for that outcome, you want to ask yourself, what is it in my control? And as long as you showed up fully and you gave your all, then you have nothing to be sorry about, because you know you've done everything you could. But like, for example, if you are a business owner and you are like, I just, no one wants to buy, or you know, I don't get any clients, or whatever it is, like, do you show up? Do you constantly learn? Do you do your trial and error? Do you do like all these things that comes from your part? Are you being the person that attracts those type of clients? Then what you want to realize is that you cannot control if someone says yes or no to you. Like, that's not in your control. In your control, it's how you are showing up and what you are doing. So that's where I want to take it with the control. And when we are able to surrender, like for me, everything changed when I discovered spirituality. Because until that point, I grew up Catholic. And I still believe in God. I'm like, sometimes I say God, sometimes I say universe. It's just like the power behind it. It feels so like the way I connect with it, it feels so much different than when I used to go to the church, where there were so many feelings that would make me feel wrong, like guilt, shame, all these things. And I'm like, I don't think God really wants us to feel that way. These are man-made things that we put onto humanity and we take them as true. So once I've discovered spirituality, I was really able to like take a leap of faith, because I was like, whatever I'm doing, I know I'm not doing alone. There is a higher power that loves me beyond measure and has my back. Like believing in that and knowing that no matter what you do, there is a higher power that has your back. Oh, it can accelerate so much, whatever it is that you are doing. At least that's my personal experience.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree with that. I think too, growing up as a Catholic, and then and just not feeling connected with, you know, with everything, and the doubt, and it definitely led me down a path of trying to control who I was to who my thoughts were, and they just weren't meeting up, they weren't aligning. So it definitely shot me down a path of confusion and uncertainty, and much the same until, you know, when I found my spirituality, and I was able to just sit in myself and accept what the thoughts were, and accept, you know, like to, I guess, unwrap who I was, and how I saw myself in the universe. And I think, you know, with that higher being, you know, everyone has a God in them, you know, be it God, be it the higher power, whoever we refer to. I think, you know, we're our own gods, and, you know, like that higher power is us, is ourselves. So, you know, like, doesn't matter where you are in life, there's always your higher self leading you, you know, to, and protecting you and giving you that strength that you need if you allow yourself to acknowledge it. And you know, and just like if you know, if we were going to church, it's believing in that higher self, in that higher being yourself, or being God, or, you know, whoever your, I guess, whatever your beliefs are.
Yes. And go
Good
ahead.
point. You just here jumping here, Andrea. You said control, and that's and then you resonated with the growing up of you, and then same as Bec mentioned. So that's also a part of the control, that when you grow up, so whether it's religion, whether it is belief system, whether it is faith system, whatever, that controls you. And when it comes to spirituality, and this is a spiritual kind of freedom, a free spirited show, that we are uncovering ourselves, that whether do we control by ourselves or control by someone. And I totally agree with like that there is a force, there's a God in us, within us, for everyone. So I guess spirituality teaches us or makes us realize that surrendering is the other side of it and not the controlling. Because no matter how much powerful you are, no matter how much powerful you can be, it doesn't mean that you can do anything or you can control everything, because there is that force in everyone that controls or that makes them do things. So I think that's a great resonation here we brought in. I didn't want to bring the religion in and all that, but religion always comes because people get confused with religion versus spirituality. And that's why I wanted to make sure that, this is not religion based control, and this is force, that everyone has got a force in them. So it's quite powerful when it comes to the duality of two sides of the things, to understand that do we want to get control or do we want to control? Because you think powerless is not controlling. No, powerless, I think sometimes can be the most powerful when you are powerless, because that's where you are having a clean, open mind to create that power. Whereas when you become powerful, or when you think that you are powerful, that time the power leads other than the responsibilities, because with power comes responsibility, but then they forget the responsibility and they think they are powerful, they can do anything, and that's where leads to a different direction altogether, which can lead to greed or all sorts of extension of non-humanity, I call it, basically. So sometimes it is better to be in powerless mode. That's my take on it, 2 cents.
I think I would have to disagree with you there, Shailesh. I think when we surrender is where our power is. Surrendering to your path, surrendering to who you are as an individual, rather than controlling what you look like for everybody else. And I think, by being powerless, we've given away our power. So we're controlling how we talk, we're controlling how we look to fit in. Whereas, and again, this is my view, and my beliefs and how I see it. So, everybody has their own, but I truly believe that when you are powerless, you're only powerless because you're controlling too much. And when you surrender into your being and into, I guess, what your purpose is, that is where your power comes, because you allow yourself to bloom, you allow yourself to grow, and the power within that is so potent that there is no need for control.
Yeah, but no, don't forget, everybody's craving for power. Everybody, when they crave to achieve something, and they think when they achieve something, they are powerful. But actually that leads to controlling. Then they start controlling. They drift away. And this is where the whole world today that we are living in has got only few people who has got the power to do anything and everything because of their access. They're trying to control the 90% people. And that's where I was referring to, not like within the power. I understand what your point was, but I'm making it in a different direction. I was looking at it. Yeah, but you're right, absolutely right, in that sense that powerless doesn't mean that you can't do anything or everything. It's like surrendering to the humanity cause, that yes, you are evolving here with others, and you cannot be over them or you cannot be under them. You got to treat equal. That's what I would say in that sense. Andreea can put some light on it.
Yes, and when you say we gotta treat equal, what equal means? That is going to mean
that's a big question.
Something else for each person, for each and every one. So That's why when we say, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is wrong, this is good, from whose perspective? It's
True.
from that person, from my world of view, which is totally different from yours. And then because we get to the point where like, but this is right, why you don't see it, why you don't do it, and the other person doesn't see it as like, that's when the conflict comes in, because we try to understand each other and we try to impose like my belief system onto you, my world of view onto you, and why you don't see it, why you don't accept it. And then we take it personally and we say, if you don't believe the same as me, that means you don't accept me. You don't love me. And it goes deep under layers where we get to the point that I'm just not loved, I'm not accepted. Yeah. And that's what we are all seeking. We are all seeking love and acceptance.
Couldn't agree more. That's really powerful. Yeah, we do evolve in our own way, but we do have to evolve with everyone. That's why we are all one. Cool.
Exactly. And these are a lot of conversations I've had with my partner this way, where he would try to show me why he is right. And for me, instead of being like, you are wrong, you are not right, I would tell him, that is your truth. I see it. I accept that that's how you see things, but that is your truth. That's not my truth. And it doesn't have to be. Like, we don't have to see things the same. And when we accept that, I think the communication and the relationships in the world are going to start improving so much more, because we release that pressure of trying to make everyone else think the same as us and be the same as us. So surrendering. It goes back again to surrendering, because surrendering has many different layers, like everything. Every word and every concept we are talking about here has so many different angles and layers. And this is where the surrendering comes in, the fact that I accept, I don't agree, and agreement and acceptance are very different. Go ahead.
I think the positive side of the surrendering, also what you mentioned just now, is I just realized that the positive side of that is you also accept, but you also then in that same context, you allow them to grow on their own and independent thinking, and making sure that, yes, we accept the way you think, doesn't matter, but I'm here if there is something goes, or to guide you, or to make my opinion feel you that this is what I would have done, this is what, but then that's a great part of it, is surrendering is not just like accepting just because, or letting everyone to control you, but actually allowing them to grow individually when you surrender. And that's the great acceptance, that's a great sacrifice, I would say, for a human mind, because as you said, everybody would like to tell that this is my way and you should also do my way, and we want to bring everyone on the same path, which is impossible, because that's not a possibility of human. Cool. Got that loud and clear, Andreea.
Thank you. Thank you. Bec, what is your take on this, like how people are trying like to control other people's ideas, thoughts, behaviors, making them wrong if they don't think the same as they do?
Yeah, definitely. I've personally experienced this many a times. I think like with having quite a different view on life, from a very young age within my family unit, my family's very Catholic, and I've always felt that I had a different view. I just didn't quite understand the Bible or how the view on a lot of things. So growing up, I definitely experienced this, and I think if you're not certain on, if you're still developing what your views and thoughts are and who you are as an individual, it can be quite intimidating to have this conversation with somebody that doesn't agree with you, because you know, like people are quite passionate about their views, and they like to talk from passion and to be able to convince, you know, the other person their point of view and to get them across the line. And I think it does come back to your awareness of yourself and the inner strength that you have to be able to, you know, stand up for yourself as well and go, you know, well, this is my view and I appreciate your view, and not get defensive. There was plenty of times that I had to step back and just be like, oh, okay, like, and just it, you know, if it got to the point, just listen to their point of view and accept what they were saying, not agree with it. Like you said, I really like that, not agree with it, but just accept their point of view and then walk away and allow, you know, and to take a little bit, whatever stood out to you, and to then maybe apply it to your life. But I definitely think, you know, that as a collective, we're all growing individually with our own views, and we all have different contracts here that we're here on earth to live and to stand by. So it's definitely, you know, we're going to have these situations our entire lives. Yeah.
And I want to touch on something that you shared, whereas you mentioned that it's difficult to have those type of conversations, especially if you haven't developed yourself as an individual. And the first thing what I want to touch on is that if you are watching us, probably you are a growth-minded person, yes? So I wanted to remind you that you are going to develop probably for the rest of your life, and your beliefs, your values, your personality is going to change as you grow. That's the first thing. And the second one is really like having those difficult conversations, which I know I avoided them for such a long time, because I'm like, I just don't want to have the conflict. I don't want to have the tension. I was not able to hold the space for having a difficult conversation, because requires something from you that you probably haven't really accessed. Especially if you have been taught like, don't argue, don't have conflict, then we associate difficult conversations with conflict. I know that's what I was doing. So then we are like, I better shut up, I better don't say anything, I'm just gonna let that person say whatever they want and I'm gonna mind my own business. But afterwards, what might happen, you might be mad on yourself, that you're like, oh, that person, I really didn't agree with them, or I really didn't like the way they talked to me and they didn't say anything. And that's gonna put your self-esteem down. So what I want to encourage you is to lean into those difficult conversations, but lean in a way of having them where you don't make the other person wrong, where you don't tell them like, no, I don't agree, you are wrong, but lean into having those conversations from a place that I can listen and I can accept there are different perspectives, and ask yourself, how can you communicate maybe your opinion, if you want to share your opinion, from a point where you don't attack or blame the other person, but take responsibility and share with the person like, I hear you, I hear what you say, and this is my opinion on it. Doesn't mean I make wrong yours, but this is my take on it. This is my opinion on it. And being able to hold those conversations is going to bring so much confidence, strength within yourself and your being.
Yeah, definitely. I think keywords for me, and it was the language that I used. So you know, before I was confident, because there was a lot of time, you know, in wanting to question different beliefs and thoughts, or you know, what our reality was at the time. I just voiced those words. Like I was talking to myself, you know, I was like, I just don't understand why we do this, or how this is. And so I started speaking those words in those conversations, rather than, you know, questioning the why, or using the why,
Mhm.
or the like but, or those words. It was like, I just don't understand your view, or I don't understand how we get from A to B. And it, for me personally, it changed the dynamic of the conversation. So it wasn't as in like I wasn't believing, it was more so that I just didn't understand, and I allowed who I was speaking to, that room, to come at, to speak about it from a different angle. But
Mhm.
rather than putting the pressure on myself to find the answers, I allowed the who I was having the conversation with to find the answers for me. And with that, it then, I was able to grow some more confidence to then have the next conversation and have the next conversation, because I had a little bit more understanding, or a little bit more information that I was able to then apply to my beliefs and how I view things. So the language for me was a big key to how I grew my confidence to then be able to ask the questions.
Yeah, very interesting you said, Beck, because for me also, like we all three are here and you both are Catholic, but I studied in a Catholic school right from day one. So my ancestors were all in Catholic school. And so I had the pleasure and the luxury of having Hindu religion and then the Catholic religion, and then understanding what is right and what is wrong, but also who to believe or who to look at. So I grew up in that environment where we had a respect for elders, a respect for seniors, or even your siblings, no matter whether you agree or you don't agree. But you can't raise your voice or you can't question them. That's the question. So whatever they say, if he is elder to you, that means he is right all the time. That's how it was perceived. So that became quite a challenging until I became my awakening happened. That do I have to listen? Do I have to do this? That was creating an emotional well-being problem for me, that I didn't agree, but I had to agree. I don't accept, but I still have to accept. So that was the mind-boggling thing going on every single moment. And I guess that's everything happens. That's why two sides to it. Your mind tells you something, your heart says something, and you got to have that battle, constant battle with your well-being. But when it comes to society, communities, and then you have to listen to these, whether you go to church or temple, and then you listen to those, and you don't allow it to be questioned, then that's more issue in terms of individual. So I get what Beck was saying. So that's to me is like, yeah, it is a conflicting and situation all the time when you are dealing with these simple things, basically.
Yes. And what I also want to touch on, if you're in a challenging situation or if you're dealing with a problem
Mm.
right now, to know that anytime, this is where the duality also comes in, anytime there is a problem, there is always a solution.
Mm.
And it's just awaiting for you to be discovered, or for you to open your mind and not just purely focus like, oh my god, I have this problem, and all you see is this problem, this problem, this problem. But the minute that that problem comes in, you're like, okay, there is a problem, that means there is a solution. And when you come in with that mindset, with that spirit, you'll see that you'll be able to overcome things so much faster and find solutions so much faster than before.
Absolutely. I think uncovering yourself and trying to understand your own self is the key ultimately, no matter whatever we are dealing with. And we'll always have two sides, as you said. So it is a challenging environment, but I think it has become more challenging with the uncertainty, because some say that no, you can do it, some say you can't do this. So you're always battling with that situation. And what is right, what is wrong, who is right, who is wrong. It's rather than putting your energies into right and wrong, as you
And
said, accepting is quite important.
yes,
Surrendering.
accepting. And if you are in a situation, you're like, I just don't know what to believe anymore because there are so many different perspectives,
Hmm.
then what you can do is just ask yourself, what does it feel true to me? What does
Hmm.
it feel right for me? Because it doesn't have to be right for anyone else around you. It has to feel right for you, because what feels right for you, it's not necessarily right for the other person. So that's how you can distinguish between all these different perspectives that the world has, and find what is true for you. Does this work for me, or it doesn't work? Like, you can ask it in so many different ways to go to the bottom of, okay, this is mine, like for right now at least.
And I think just being curious, you know, like when you are stuck, you know, like when you do have a problem, be curious as to what the solution could be, because it's not necessarily one solution, you know. Like we have options, we have, you know, so being curious in who you are and in situations, it allows you to grow and expand and to play. I think when we're searching for the answers, you know, like, so I've got a problem, there must be a solution, so I must search for that answer, that one solution. But I think if we change that to curiosity, then we allow ourselves to open up and expand and just, I guess, see the endless amounts of solutions that we have. And like, you know, if you want to go this way, or this could be the solution, or vice versa, you know. So I think the key for me out of this conversation is curiosity and allowing yourself to ask questions, and to like, if you're in a state of fear, to be curious about how love might feel and how surrendering to control might feel, and be curious as to how it feels when we detach ourselves from the situation and from that sticky topic that we're in at the time. Because, you know, if you're not curious, how are we able to get there?
Yes. Oh, and I loved you touched on that, Bec, and what you said, being playful. I think once we like come into adulthood, we are like, oh, I have to do everything right, I have to be serious, I have to like all these things, and we forget that inside of us there is also a child who wants to play, who wants to have fun. So the more we feed that side of us and bring in also the creativity of finding solutions, the more you're gonna enjoy this journey, which is called life.
Yeah, I think I'm growing up, and now that I have nieces and nephews, and I remember when I was a child, you know, people would say to me like, oh, don't grow up too quickly. Don't get old too quickly. And I say that, and I find myself saying that to my nieces and nephews now. And I'm like, oh, just be a child. Don't grow up too quickly. But really, just recently, those words for me now mean, you know, like, because we never lose that inner child. That little child, that little girl, that little boy is with you forever. And it's not the fact that, you know, like, it's where that saying, don't grow up too quickly, is, you know, referred to in age, you know, the number of years. For me, it's like, don't lose that inner child as you're growing up. Don't grow up too quickly. Don't lose that inner child. Continue to play, continue to be curious, continue to, you know, be soft and joyous within yourself. So it was only really recently that saying twisted for me, because you know, it had a turn, and I was like, oh, that's what that means.
I love it.
That's so true.
It's
So
for
moving
me,
on.
like,
Yeah.
the what?
No, you go, Andreea.
Yes, for me, like growing up, I had to get mature very fast at a very, very young age, at 14 when my mom left. So because I haven't really had like a playful, you know, adolescence, I found myself even like being now a grown-up woman, and it's still like weird to say it, a grown-up woman. It still doesn't feel that way, but I found myself like constantly just being in that mode of like serious, working, getting things done, you know, like boom, 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 like in my masculine, very much. Like that's how I coped with when my mom left. I'm like, okay, I need to be this person for my father, for my brother, and so on, for them to be okay. So now for probably the last year, I got more and more in touch with my feminine and allow myself not to be so rigid. That's what I was telling Shailesh as well. Like
Mm.
if people were late, like my masculine was like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill you, and all
Yeah.
these things. And we all have both sides, the duality
Yes.
again. We all have the feminine and the masculine within us. But I feel like we have been taught in the society that no, the feminine, it's not really good. You need
Mm.
to get things done. So bring on your masculine. And
Mm.
it goes on both
On both
genders, no,
sides.
the feminine and the masculine. So we denied, I feel like as women, we have denied this power of us, this wisdom, this playfulness, this creativity that we can actually access when we get in touch with our feminine. Because I feel like, I know I have been afraid to do that, because I'm like, I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to just do nothing, I don't want to, like, I was having all these beliefs around being in touch with my feminine that were not congruent with my life. So now that I have a better understanding of what actually means to be in touch with my feminine and creating a beautiful balance between the two, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we have been denying that power for so long. And I feel like more and more women are accessing it right now. And on the side of men, I feel like more and more men now, they allow themselves to express their feelings, which is more on the feminine side, to be more vulnerable, to don't just have that mask where, oh, I'm just so strong and I don't have feelings, I don't cry, like those things that have been impregnated in the society. And more men now, they start healing themselves and bring that side out, which I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I think for myself, like in controlling as to who I was projecting myself as, my masculine was in play for, and the only thing that was in play for a very long time, in wanting to control how people saw me, or I'm controlling my emotions and my vulnerability. It's only been fairly recent for me that I'm actually allowing people to see me vulnerable and the rawness. And for me, that's my feminine side. And with getting more in touch with my feminine side, that my creativity comes out, and that's where my power is in being creative and being playful and being vulnerable. I think when I was in my masculine, and I still fluctuate now, like at times, depending on what my moods are and what I need to get done. But when I'm in my masculine, not much gets done because I'm so rigid that I can't. It's like I shut off. You shut off a part of your brain, and like not much gets done if I don't have like the list of ABC and this is how you do it. Then it doesn't. I find myself just staying in one place. So it's been a beautiful lesson for me to be in touch more with my feminine, because I allow flow and ease to come into my life, and more comes, which is really nice.
Yes. What is your experience, Shailesh, with the feminine and masculine?
Yeah, no, it's a good way of looking at things, and that's why probably I get more inclined, because I had a pleasure and the luxury of, like, in a family where I had lots of women, so and lots of thinking from that angle. My sisters, cousins, particularly a lot, and we lived almost together. So we could understand where we are coming from, but we didn't understand until we only knew as a certain brain wire we were told that this is woman, so you got to treat like this. This is men, you got to treat like that. Boys, girls, differently. But when you look at from my uncovering point of view, when I got my awakening, I really understood that, yeah, we do have masculine and feminine. We are sensitive. You know how men say men should not cry,
Mhm.
or men should not put tears. Those were the things. And men, no matter whatever happens, something very untoward incident happens, men should be strong. So they don't cry. They don't, do that. No, that was not me, unfortunately, you can call it. I expressed my feelings straight away and my emotions come straight away, and I don't mind, basically. And people think that, yeah, no, you're a man, you should not be crying, you should be, so you're suppressing. So men suppress more, I
Yeah.
guess, from that angle. So they go into a different direction. But I feel from my point of view, like, yeah, it's no point, even if you cry alone, or if you watch a movie and cry, it doesn't matter. Your body, you're shedding your tears, which is all your emotions are coming out. So for me, feminine, masculine side of me, I always like, don't battle with it. I just go with the flow. I don't suppress myself. I just go with the flow, basically. And it doesn't make any really difference to me what others think, because what matters to my heart is more important than anything else. So that's, I would put it that way. But it's very important. Masculine, feminine is very important, because you look at your own mother to start with when you're born, and when you are living with her all your life, and you are expressive about with her than with your dad, so you understand that why I'm more attached to my mother, or why
Mhm.
mother is more attached to a son rather than daughter. In my own case, when I look at it, I understood that, yeah, that's actually, we do have that resonation among all humans, that men, woman, feminine, masculine is already there within us. It's just like we are not expressing, and we are told not to express. We are told to suppress rather than express. And I think this is where the whole belief system, the religion system, all sorts of system that we are binded and surrounded by makes who
Mhm.
we are. But then spirituality comes in, and we say that now we don't want to get trapped or victim into a system. We want to be in our own system, which is spiritualism, basically, for me. Hmm.
Yes. You want to get to a point, guys, where in a few months, in a year, your old friends are going to tell you, I don't recognize you anymore. That you have been changing so much of who you were. That's when you know the most that you're growing, when your
So
old
true.
friends don't recognize you anymore.
Absolutely spot on there. Yeah. That's
Definitely.
what I guess, when we are dealing with a topic called duality, which is always two sides, we always want to have the power, non-power, or control, non-control, but we do have these two things going on constantly. And I guess, from what you teach people, it's like coaching, rewiring their brain, and making understand that this is not the only way. You should never get stuck in one way. Always try to find a way if you don't have a way, but don't think that there is no way. As most of the people think, they get stuck and they think there is no other way now. I can't do other than that way, and that way I cannot do. So you're completely stuck, basically.
Yes, going back to what Beck said, where you just let your mind to be open to multiple solutions. And that's how
Mm.
you gotta take yourself out of being stuck, because there is not just one way of getting solved. There's multiple ways, and it's up to you which one you are going to choose.
So our last point was like, what is your views on the attachment versus detachment, that what we were trying to uncover? So is this dual personality or dual things that also goes with attachments, detachments, whether it's relationship, whether it's material things, whether it is anything. We try and tend to depend, codepend, and we try to get attached. And then when we detach, we have that emotional roller coaster well-being affected very badly. What do you think?
Yes, with the attachment and detachment, it's like I feel like we have been taught in the society that to attach to external things, attach to like having a job, having a car, having a relationship, having like all these external things. And once you're going to have them, you're going to be happy.
Mm.
Once you are able to let go of those things and understand that the only thing it's actually that is going to make you happy, it's your inner world, it's how you view yourself first and foremost, and detach of the external validation.
Mm.
I would say that's what it is. Detach from the external validation that you can only be loved and accepted or belong in a society only if you have certain things or only if you are in a certain way. That's when you find the freedom within yourself, because then you are not going to care anymore. Like no matter what is going to happen in your life, you know you're going to be okay because you have yourself.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. I think for me personally, when I realized that and detached myself from wanting to fit in, having that attachment to being somebody that my family expected me to be, or being somebody that I thought the community wanted me to be. I think detaching from that image, it really allowed me to step out of that victim mentality of not being right or not being perfect, to then be able to be more open and accept who I was, for everybody else to accept who I was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
no, that's
self, it's so important.
well, it's very great insights that you gave us today, Andrea. Absolutely, really thoughtful of you and giving this all our audiences. I wanted to just end up with this one final message. What message would you have for the audiences who are listening today and getting confused with duality, or may get confused with what really I have to do? Because I think most of the time also, for me also, like, and when until I got my awakening, people get stuck into past, people get into stuck into future. And what we are uncovering today is, unless we live in the present, we won't be able to come out of this duality, because this is something. So what would be your message final to the audiences who are listening, to ensure that they are conflicting, they're battling with this duality, whether it is fear, whether it is love, whether it is control, surrender, attach, detach, past, present, and future, dark, light, all of this, they all meaningful. They are all meaningful for our journey. And every single moment what we are living in our journey, we are uncovering everything, and we are influencing by our own self. So what's your final message to these audiences from your perspective?
I would say not holding things as being just black or white, allowing yourself that gray area, and asking yourself, living in the question, asking yourself, okay, this is how I have been seeing things until this point. What else can they mean? How else can I see them? How can I see them in a way that it's benefit me, that is going to be my truth? Living truthful to yourself, it's the most important thing, because if you're just living a life trying to please everyone else, or trying to just show sides of I'm like just show sides of yourself
Yeah.
that are that you think people are gonna like, but you restrain yourself of just showing who you fully are, you're gonna live pretty much a sad life, because you're gonna have around you people that like sides of you, but not the whole you.
Yes, that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a great message, because that's where people and humans, we tend to easily drift away, because we get frustrated, we get overwhelmed, we get unfulfilled, and we think that life is meaningless, living is meaningless. But that's because you're battling all this duality that we come into context with lots of things. And so I guess for me, what I take from here, the message insights that you have given today is definitely try to live in the moment and try to be who you are, just the way you are. But questioning yourself is the key. I take it from here to me. And I think that is aligned with absolutely my spiritual way of living or spiritual way of thinking, is when you question yourself. And Bec said that, yeah, it's hard sometimes to listen to people or to question people. But then when you start questioning yourself, you will automatically start questioning others around you. So it starts from within you, asking questions
Yes.
to yourself. Does that make fair to say, Andrea?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll leave it to Bec now to finalize and complete this
Oh,
session
there's been
today.
a lot that I've resonated with today on our topic,
Mm,
and clarified a lot for me as well there. And I'm sure our listeners, will have the same or similar experience. So really just grateful for your time today to be able to chat and to unwrap a few little queries on duality. So it's really good. And yeah, for you to be here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you for having me.
You're
No,
welcome.
it is a great pleasure, Andrea. You have given us a lot of insights, and I think we didn't touch a lot on many things that people would love to in the future, but we would definitely would like you to come back and give us more and more this duality, uncovering more duality to make it more confidence for humans. But also certainty is very important, like, uncertain, certainty. These are also two sides of it can, but uncertainty leads to certainty, and certainty doesn't lead to uncertainty, I would say,
Yeah.
because this is the key message. Thank you once again, Andrea, for that great insights today. I think for someone who wants to, activate their power or activate their brain, they can always get in touch with Andrea and also rewire your brain so that you can get the confidence of uncovering this duality, and you don't have to be in that duality mode just because it's coming to you. So once again, thank you, Andrea, for your great insights. And to all our listeners, Andrea, as you know, she's a very well coach, certified, and also she's also business, and business is a big topic if we wanted to. A lot of two sides to businesses, but we'll talk about that sometime later. Thank you,
Thank you so
Andrea,
much, guys.
and
Have a
thanks very
great
much.
day.
Bye.